Hey, Warrior Next Door listeners, for those who were not able to attend our July 9th event, our live Zoom event with Ray Harris Jr. of the History of World War II podcast, along with the Warrior Next Door, I'm Tony Lupo and a co-host Ryan Fairfield, and it was moderated by Shaun Hall of the Veterans Breakfast Club. Well, we just thought we'd play a few clips in this particular air raid edition to give you a taste of what you may have missed, with the hopes that you'll join us next time. So in this first couple of clips was provided by memories from Gina Wolfe, who was the granddaughter of Otis W. Bryant, and he would pass away, unfortunately, in November of 1944 while fighting with the 80th Infantry Division in and around the area of Many, France. That's spelled Masny. So listen in as she shares what she learned about her grandfather Otis while traveling back to Europe to retrace his footsteps as a combat soldier in the 80th Infantry Division. In this first clip, she's going to focus more on the hole that was left in her family when he passed away back in November of 1944. How big of a hole did his death leave in the family? And when did you realize that there was this person in your life that was supposed to be there and they're not there anymore? And how did that affect you?
Hope I don't get emotional because I still do. Even though, yeah, it's weird because I never knew him and my mom never knew him either. But I mean, I always knew about him, probably from pictures in the house. And I always remember in high school when they pulled in that big old TV on the cart to watch like a World War II movie, black and white movie on the cart. I just always remember like that was hard for me. Like it was hard for me to even watch, like because and then I told myself, I think in my head for years, even into my 20s, like I can never watch a World War II movie. I can't. And fast forward and I'm doing all of this. Now I can watch anything and I want to. Like I want to know what people went through. I want to see it. And I've watched some very graphic things in the last couple of years. And I just do it because I truly want to be empathetic to what people went through and I want to know everything I can. But yeah, back in high school, it was just like a presence. And my mom like talked about it, but when she did, it was in a very sort of like woe is me kind of way. I think she was always very bitter. And I know she always talked about Otis's mother. Of course, anybody would not get over losing a child, but she always talked about Otis's mother, how she just could not accept it and could not get over it. And my question always is like my grandmother, my mom's mom, how did she handle it? Like I want to hear more stories of her strength and all this. And that's kind of sadly the missing piece. Like we don't have a lot of stories about her grief. And we know she was a strong woman, of course, like she worked and she moved back in with her parents at that house, that picture of that house, once he was killed. And she went to work and like my great grandma actually would have watched my mom when they were little so that my grandmother could go to work. And she just got on with life. And like, I know I'm very proud of her too for what she had to go through and what she did.
Next, Gina describes what it was like to stand in the field where her grandfather, Otis, would die in November of 1944.
So, Gina, I think your grandfather was killed in November of 1944. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you went back. You said just last year, and you had a great experience meeting up with some of the locals who became tour guides or were guides for you, right? And they were with an organization. Is that correct?
Yes. In my research before my trip, I found the Thanks GIs Association, and what they do is they do is keep the memories alive of the soldiers who died for them in the Lorraine region. And the president is Elizabeth Gazzo, Gozzo, and Alan is her husband. And so they do this together. They've been doing it for close to 30 years, I think. And literally they give up so much of their time. They plan memorials, they plan ceremonies, they have built monuments. When I was there, they took me to this huge Moselle River crossing monument that he helped build. Elizabeth has had a little bit of some health issues. So Alon is the one that took me on the tour last year, and his other historian friend, Didier. And so those two men took me and my family from the cemetery. We met them at the cemetery at St. Avold and then worked our way west. So we were literally like going to the last villages that my grandpa was in. The very first stop was, because it was like where he was killed, was the very first stop was the field where he was killed in. So we're following Alon and Elizabeth, or I'm sorry, Alon and Didier in the car. And then we pull over and yeah, he's like, we are 90% sure with our studies of his physicians that this is the field that he was killed in. So that's something I always wanted to see. Like,
how did you feel when you were in that field?
It was just surreal. I feel like I was in a dream, seriously. You know, this sounds weird. And when I say this in my head, I almost want to cry. I feel like I was in my imagination, like my whole life. I have this imagination of him and how he died. And it was like, oh my God, I'm in that dream. I'm in that mindset. Sorry, I'm getting crying.
No,
I'm getting misty-eyed too.
You talk about being sentimental. I think people have a sense of history. People on this phone call right now who care about these things, they are sentimental because they're trying to understand or grasp or recreate the conditions for whatever that thing was that was historic to them.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to ask you that, because I think I would argue, you were there, I don't know, so I'm saying this, but you tell me if I'm wrong, that it probably went from a lot of abstract ideas in your mind about what he would have saw or experienced, and then you're standing there looking at the field, looking at the trees, looking at the villages. I mean, like you said, I think surreal is a great word that you used for it.
Yeah, it was like indescribable. There were even like no words. Like I think I just stood there and I didn't even say anything when Alon kind of went like this, this is the field. And I was just speechless. Like I truly was.
In this clip, Gina describes what it was like to be in the town of Manet, really close to the place or the field where her grandfather Otis would have been killed by artillery fire, to see bullet holes still riddling the buildings and being able to literally pull out a bullet from that battle, which could have very well have been aimed at Otis during the time when he was hit by that artillery shell. So peep it out.
And when we got into the village of Many, well, first of all, they surprised us and had us meet the mayor. They like walked us into the town hall and the mayor and his city manager were standing there. So they received us as like their special guests. So that was very, very moving to meet them. And that was neat as can be. And then we walked out and I'm not kidding, this little village, it looked like it hasn't even changed since World War II.
It probably hasn't.
Yeah, those like buildings, is it concrete that they're made of or like stucco
all the stone buildings with stucco.
Yeah, they're like stone buildings. There were bullets everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Still. And I walked up to one and just me being me, because I have to like touch and feel. And again, I have to experience everything. So I was touching one of the holes in the bullet and Didier walked up to it and he kind of handed it to me. That was the most speechless moment I've ever had in my life. I stood there and my mouth literally dropped.
So Gina, you dropped off right when you were describing putting your hand on the bullet. So did you pull a bullet out of the wall?
Didier did, the man with me. He's the one that like, after I touched it, he reached in and pulled it out. I just remember like my mouth very, very, very naturally just fell open. And I literally said, what? Like, and the irony is like, here I am holding this, the granddaughter, 81 years later, of someone who this bullet was probably shot towards. And here I am like holding this. Like, who would have thought, like, what crazy full circle moment. I don't even know what you would call that moment, but for me to be holding that bullet in that street, in that spot. And then, I don't know, I wrote this somewhere in some article, maybe it was in my local paper, but it started to rain. This is like an emotional thing too. It started to rain right after that moment. And so we started running back to the car from that spot where I was holding the bullet. And as I was running, I was thinking to myself, my grandpa was running in this street. He was like literally running from things and from bullets and artillery shells. And here I am running in this street, like the same street.
Oh, there's so much more that was shared. We wished everyone could have attended this event, but if you didn't, next is some memories from Beth Johnson, whose father was a radar man, first class on the USS Enterprise, the most storied ship in the Pacific Fleet during World War II. And here she talks about why she even decided to research her father's time in the service and share it with us. Why was that important to her? So here it is. Why do you think you got so interested in trying to understand, what he did?
That's a great question. I think it's because I lost him so soon. I was always into history, and like Gina mentioned, the film carts coming in, and you're like, we watched that whole series of World at War. I was in high school in the 70s, and there was this whole series of the World at War. And that really sparked my interest. I mean, I'm sure the teacher just wanted to phase out over here while we watched. It's like, oh my God, because I mean, it showed everything. It showed the European concentration camps and everything. It was just, so that's where I was sparked, was in high school. But then, I lost my dad within 10 years of that. So I think it was just because I didn't get to know him in old age. You just, when he has more time to tell stories. I don't know if he ever would have told that, though. I don't know if he would have or not, because he was very, he involved himself in a lot of things, but he was very, I don't want to say private, just quiet about accomplishments. I mean, we were never to brag. That was the number one rule as kids.
Gina said the same thing. So
yeah.
Unfortunately, her father, Roy Lindstrom, who was a radar man first class on USS Enterprise, wouldn't live a full life, and he passed away while Beth was relatively young. And so that may explain why she spent a lot of time trying to understand this period of his life. And in this next clip, Beth describes kind of what was the most poignant moment that she had, or learning that she had, researching his time in the service. What was the one thing, you already told us, what was the one thing you learned that was the most, holy cow moment?
I think because I view that as like heroism. I think he was a hero just doing that one little, I guess it was a big day of doing that. Because I don't think I ever viewed him as a hero. As far as I knew, he ate chicken on the Enterprise, So I think that was it. It just that blew my mind. And that he had never told any of his kids ever.
That's such a remarkable trait when you see a lot of these guys that you would never, and he obviously passed away not telling people about this one thing, and you had to dig it up in a file to find out some of these heroic things that he did that he just was not going to call attention to.
And I was able to share it with my siblings too, because
that's cool.
Sure.
Amen. You may or may not know this, but war dogs have played an important role in the United States overseas endeavors since at least World War II, probably earlier. And in this next clip, friend of the Warrior Next Door, Len Gardner, and of course with Ray Harris, the History of World War II podcast, describes a project that we're working on with him to better understand the history of another type of veteran, a canine named Dottie. We have reached out to Myra Miller with Footsteps Research to look for war records. We're working together on doing that for a war dog, for a dog that his neighbor had years ago that may have been a combat dog. When I sent that to Myra Miller, she digs up records from all kinds of crazy stuff all over the world. I said, I've got an interesting one for you. I'm not sure you've seen this before. She said, try me. And I sent her what Len sent me. And she's like, you're right. I've never seen this one before.
And then, of course, my neighbor Curtis had a dog that they volunteered for the War Dog program. And her name was Dottie. And Dottie was with we got her discharge papers. I texted them to you. I don't know if you have them.
I got them.
She was with the Coast Guard as a sentry dog. So they were either patrol sentry or there was one other classification of dogs. But Curtis told me that when she got back, that whenever a plane flew over, she would flatten out and not move. And also had a skin disease that could only been picked up in the South Pacific. So
Wow.
That's what they knew of her, and I sent you her discharge papers. She had her tattoo in her lip, but she came back,
Wow.
to them, to the family. So Curtis has passed away. His sister's still alive. And she said that when people would come over, that dog would escort them from one end of the property to the other.
She was trained.
She was a mixed breed dog came out of a farm in Illinois, and that's how they got her. So, but yeah,
I didn't know that they would tattoo the inside of the dog's lip, but I guess they can't wear dog tags, or they can, but they might get lost.
They jingle.
They call them human tags.
Yeah, totally. They can't have that.
Yeah.
About when did Dottie pass away?
I never asked her that. I don't know how long Dottie lived. When it gave me an impression that she was with the family for a while after she got back. And she was lucky because they started euthanizing the dogs, and somebody stepped in and stopped that and had them bring them back. But from what I read, like 2% of the dogs were accepted that were volunteered, and it's something that, a person can understand why he's going away, but a dog doesn't, and so her family volunteered her to go to war.
And in an interesting twist of fate, Len Gardner would have someone in his family who also served in the 80th Infantry Division, which of course was the same division that Otis was in, as described by Gina Wolfe. So check it out.
I have one great uncle on my mother's side that was in the Army Air Corps, and he was with B-25s. When my grandmother passed away, we were going through stuff and found a paper clipping of Doolittle giving him and two other airmen decorations. Don't know what they were for. His unit did get the presidential unit citation. He was in a B-25 outfit. Now, I don't know. He was not a large man. So I don't know if he was ground crew on the airplanes, but I thought if he was, he would have been in a small place. So when I found this, I called him up and asked him if I could come talk to him, and he died 2 weeks later. And at the funeral, I asked his sons, did he ever say anything? They said no. He never talked about it.
There's a theme developing here.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it. Yeah.
And then on my dad's side of the family, Wayne Gardner, I know a little bit more about him, and I'd probably have your friend research this a little more. He was in a medical unit with the 80th. And he got 3 Purple Hearts and 3 Broad Stars.
Wow.
Damn.
Let's hope that's abundantly clear to our audience that this live event was really evocative. Even though these individuals that are being described, shared their experiences from descendants aren't with us anymore, there's no less of an emotional or visceral reaction to these people and the role that they had in their family history, the heritage, the World War II heritage, or however you want to describe it. These people are still very much alive in our hearts, as you can hear. And in fact, this last clip is from Ray Harris, host of the History of World War II podcast. Here he describes what may have been a entry-level event for his interest in history, as he had a chance to interview and get to know a neighbor while he was studying history in college who served in B-17s.
So I started the podcast in 2012, and of course that I don't know why I just did it because there was not one there. But anyway, back in 1995, I was at James Madison University, and I was a senior. I was getting a degree in history and a license to teach. And as one of my projects, I had to write a history paper. So it just happens that my neighbor was a B-17 pilot in World War II in Europe. And again, keep in mind, this is 1995. I have no idea that I'm going to do the podcast. I don't keep anything. I don't even remember his name, but I do remember one thing. I know that's horrible. You're sitting here talking about preserving records, and I chuck this thing as soon. Anyways, so I said, great, I'll interview you. So I'm at his kitchen table. We're sitting across from each other. And he's telling me about all his experiences, his near-death experiences. And he said there was one particular one, it was near the end, where the B-17, because of flak, it lost an engine. The engine was ripped out of the wing, and a part of the nose was ripped out because this flak came very close. And so he's got the wind in his face, but they're able to land. They're able to make it. Everybody's fine, besides some injuries. And sure enough, I go looking up, and of course, this is 1995. I have to go to, is it called microfiche, whatever? I have to go look that up, and I find the article. He was a Holtam hero. But anyway, so I write the paper and I do it, and it was really cool. But at the end of the interview, he said, I'd been on I'm trying to remember how many missions they had to fly. At first it was like 25, and then it gets bumped to 30 or 30. I can't remember, but he was near the end. And he goes, on no other mission except for this one, when I saw that parts of my plane were missing that clearly were supposed to be there, I got a taste of silver in my mouth. When I was at my most afraid, I got a taste of silver. I've never had it in any other previous mission. He goes, and he kind of pauses dramatically because he's an older guy and they do that. And he goes, I've only had that silver taste in my mouth twice in my life. And I'm sitting there like, what was the second one? Whatever. And so he pauses just for dramatic effect. And he goes, the first one was that mission. And the second one was when I asked my wife to marry me. Oh. And she paused. And then she said yes. Yeah. So I'm sitting there going, pause. That's amazing. That's amazing. But the thing of the story is, she was sitting next to him next to the table. So I'm like a 20-whatever-year-old kid. I look at her and she just rolls her eyes. And
oh man, we had so much fun on July 9th, 2026, a Zoom meeting with some people talking about their heritage, their World War II heritage, people in their lives who still affect them to this day. We're going to have more events like this coming up regularly, and we invite you to join in future events and share your stories with us. Not only do we enjoy hearing from our audience and these histories, these experiences from your family, but as you can tell from this episode, we want to share them with others, right? We want to share them with other people, and we hope that those who have listened to this air raid edition really enjoyed some of these experiences that were shared by the descendants of family members who aren't with us anymore, to be able to share them themselves. So until the next event, listen for it. I think we're leaning more towards September of this year, 2026. For the love of all things holy, come and join us and share with us your stories as well, because we love to hear them. So until next time.